Hey, and welcome to the first ever episode of the AKAJK News podcast. I'd just like to extend a very warm welcome to everyone on whatever platform that you're listening to this. And depending on what platform you are on, this show will be on there all the time. So every time I post a new episode of this, you should find it on whatever platform you're listening to right now. So that shouldn't be a problem. And yeah, without further ado, I'd just like to explain what this podcast is going to be about, and then we can get started. So essentially, it's going to be a weekly news update surrounding all the technology and just tech in general that has been released, rumored, etc. For example, we'll cover big companies such as Apple, Instagram, Bose, Amazon, etc., etc. And so in this episode, I'm just going to give you a quick rundown. We're going to be covering Apple, Instagram, lots of audio companies. Well, actually, it's just going to be mainly Bose, Amazon, Samsung, Google, Microsoft, and a few extra additional things later on in the episode. So without further ado, everyone, let us get right into the episode. So, we all know Apple has released the iPhone X, very controversial phone with a notch. It is one of the most expensive phones on the market right now, coming in between $1 to $1.2 thousand. I am currently using it right now, and I'm using it to read off. So yeah, it is a really good device. But obviously, Apple are going to be updating the iPhones constantly. So they are rumored to release 3 new iPhones towards the end of 2018. So in a few months' time, possibly going to be announced in the WWDC event later on in the year. But these 3 smartphones are going to be as follows. So the second generation iPhone X could be called iPhone 11. We're not sure, but it's essentially the second generation of what we just have right now. And there's going to be an iPhone X Plus and a cheaper iPhone X, which could be the rumored full-screen iPhone SE2, but I'm not sure on that. So the budget iPhone X, which is the cheaper one that I talked about, it's going to have a 6-inch LCD screen, so it's not going to be OLED, which is probably one of the major reasons as to why it is a cheaper iPhone. And it's going to have a single camera, not a dual camera like the iPhone X has currently. And it should come in around $699, which is obviously better than the iPhone X right now, so it's a few $100s cheaper. And I do believe if Apple release such a phone, it'll be quite popular, as people are opting for less expensive smartphones, and this kind of gives you a more bang for your buck in Apple's market. Obviously, this is kind of the price for most smartphones in the market from any other company, but anyway, Apple are pretty overpriced. Also, Apple have been doing a lot of things that we haven't been hearing about, and they've been signing a lot of big actors and directors and just famous people. We think that these people are going to be working together for a new content-based technology software, which is going to be similar to the likes of Netflix, but we're going to go over that a bit later on. So Apple have signed people like Oprah, Jennifer Aniston, J.J. Abrams, Steven Spielberg, and many other big names to work on their new projects. So the rumors for this, it will either be a subscription-based service such as Netflix, but just cheaper, obviously, so they can beat Netflix. The second option would be an Amazon Prime style bulk subscription with multiple benefits. So obviously Amazon Prime gives you the 1-day delivery, gives you Amazon Music and Amazon TV, stuff like that. This is going to be something similar, and it would include services with the likes of Apple Music and Apple Care. And if they do introduce any new services, that would sort of kind of bulk into and package with this Amazon Prime style subscription service. Or the third one is a free content service with ads, and that would be on the Apple TV. So it would have a similar style to YouTube. Obviously, it's not going to be like where creators can post content onto there. It would be just a similar style where it's free, but there are going to be ads, which is the way that they would be making money. Obviously, a lot of people would prefer the free content service with ads, but I'm not sure on what they're going to be doing. However, all of this information sounds pretty amazing, but they won't really be announcing anything or releasing anything before spring of 2019. So we still have just below a year to wait for this. Also, related to Apple news, the first iOS 12 public beta is out, so I'm going to be downloading that shortly and giving feedback possibly on the next podcast episode and possibly on the YouTube channel, so you can stay tuned. My YouTube channel is AKAJK. So anyway, public iOS users can now access the iOS 12 beta and try it out for themselves before it is officially released later on in the year, possibly in the September WWDC event. I mean, who knows, but that's what is out now, along with the macOS Mojave first public beta, which is also released, so anyone can go and try it out for themselves before it is officially released in a later event. Now, moving on from Apple news, we move on to Instagram. So Instagram has been a hot topic lately as they have introduced IGTV or Instagram TV, which is supposed to be an up-and-coming rival to YouTube. Now, I haven't had the time to test out Instagram TV. I might try it out in the future, and if I do, I'll give my thoughts on in a future podcast episode. According to the news and information and reviews, they haven't nailed down the search aspect, which is what YouTube do very well. So obviously they're going to nail that down sooner or later so they can actually get in YouTube's range. However, in the future, Instagram TV could prove to be a valid rival to YouTube, but who knows? Well, I'll be keeping a close eye on that and the news on that to see what's happening. Instagram are also trying to rival Apple's 31 people FaceTime video chat feature, which I talked about in a video that I think released yesterday on my YouTube channel, so you can go check it out. And they are introducing 4-way video call. Obviously this kind of hails in comparison to Apple's new up to 31 people FaceTime video chat feature, which is pretty tremendous. But 4-way video call on Instagram could prove to be pretty popular. Now, moving on from Instagram, we enter HP, and they've introduced a new laptop tablet kind of mix, and it's called the HP NVX31 as far as I can recall. This is supposed to come with a Qualcomm Snapdragon 835 processor, which is 2.2 GHz, and it can overclock to 2.6 GHz. And it's going to be an 8-core laptop, which is pretty good. The screen size is rumored to be 12.3 inches with an IPS panel, and a touchscreen Gorilla Glass edge-to-edge screen is what's going to be on this. 1920 by 1280 pixels is the rumored resolution. In terms of memory, we're expecting 4GB of DDR4 RAM and 128 GB of storage. We're not sure whether there are going to be other options. I mean, they should be, but who knows. In terms of cameras on this device, it's going to have a HP Wide Vision 5 megapixel front facing camera and a HP 13 megapixel camera, which is rear facing. And it's going to have 3 integrated digital microphones. Obviously this has a front and back camera because it's also a tablet, so just bear that in mind. And the battery is a 3-cell 49.33 watt-hour Li-ion battery. This is supposed to weigh around 0.7 kilograms, just the tablet on its own, and then when you connect it with the keyboard and all that kind of jazz, it's supposed to come in at 1.21 kilograms. So it's pretty light, and it's supposed to be made out of aluminum, glass and plastic, obviously respectively to which parts, which is pretty self-explanatory. The operating system is obviously Windows 10, S or Pro, whichever one you opt for. And yeah, it seems to be an interesting device, and I may check it out for myself when it is released. Now moving on to audio, Bose have entered the completely wireless earphone market with the Bose SoundSport 3. This comes in around $200, and they are basically a pair of fully wireless earphones, similar to the likes of the AirPods, just obviously made by Bose. And according to the many reviewers, it has great sound quality, and they have contradicted what Bose has stated about the battery life. Bose have stated 5 hours of battery life. However, these people are kind of collectively saying roughly 10 hours of battery life. So that obviously sounds pretty good for a pair of wireless earbuds. And it has an IPX4 rating, so that they will not be damaged by sweat when you are exercising, running, jogging, whatever. It is not like an IP68 or something where you can enter underwater with, such as the Apple Watch, which has features where you can swim or whatever. It doesn't have that. It would be pretty cool for a tech company to invest in making waterproof earphones which you can swim with. And if something like that ever gets introduced, I will instantaneously share it with you on this podcast. Now we'll move on to a lot of interesting tech that has been talked about. It's not necessarily in a large wider category, but let's get into it. First off, I'd like to talk about Amazon Flex, which is a system which allows any ordinary person to deliver Amazon packages in their own vehicle. They'll be paid between $18 to $25 per hour. So essentially you work 4 hours a day, that'll give you $100 per day just by delivering these Amazon packages. There are multiple reviews online talking about how this job was like, people that have tried it out. I'm not sure which regions this is applicable to, but you can go and do some further research on Amazon Flex. Let me just repeat, Amazon Flex. Now with all of this, we haven't talked about Google. Google has a pretty incremental update to their Google Home, which allows it to now speak Spanish. So anyone that is a Spanish speaker will definitely benefit from this and would not have to opt for a different device such as Amazon Alexa, which I do believe speaks Spanish. I'm not too sure. But you can change the language to Spanish in the Google Home settings. And this isn't an update, you don't really have to buy a new Google Home which can speak Spanish. Just go to the settings and change the language to Spanish and it should work fine. Microsoft have introduced a new USB-C dongle which will connect to the charging port in all the Surface devices, and then it will allow you to connect USB-C peripherals such as mice and keyboards, etc. to your Surface device. So it's nice to see that Microsoft are trying to jump on the USB-C trend and sort of futurify their devices. Now we come on to a pretty popular topic, which is relating to the Samsung Galaxy S10, which should come out in roughly a year's time. So some information on this would be they are trying to replace the iris scanner on the device with a 3D facial recognition system similar to the likes of the one that Apple have on their iPhone, and an in-display fingerprint scanner. So this is going to have double protection, which is what I think Apple should be developing. However, this would be very nice to see with Samsung, and we can see and test out how an in-screen fingerprint scanner would work, and if it actually is something that people would use, as opposed to using a fingerprint scanner on the back or just no fingerprint scanner as Apple have opted for. Now, some news on the lineup for Samsung's Galaxy S10. There will be one with a 5.8-inch display, and the S10 Plus would have a 6.2-inch display. However, a Korean outlet, being the Electronic Times, disagrees with these facts and states something completely different, which I will talk about now. So the Electronic Times, we do not know how reliable they are. However, they state the first two will both be 5.8-inch models and the third one will be a 6.2-inch model. The first 5.8-inch model that they would release would have one single rear camera. The other 5.8-inch model would have dual rear cameras. So essentially it's a cheaper one and a more expensive one for the 5.8-inch. Along with the 6.2-inch smartphone having three rear cameras, which doesn't really exist on many devices currently, so that would be nice to see. And just related to those three cameras, LG have been rumored to add 5 cameras in the next phone, which seems kind of ridiculous. I'm not sure whether this is actually going to be true, but we'll see in the future. Now, something that I have read about, which really caught my eye, is by a company called Semtex, and they've been working on an all-in-one workstation, essentially like a gaming battle station, where you have a sit and stand smart desk, which would be connected to 3 24-inch IPS monitors, all on this table, and those would be connected to a Windows PC, which is powered by an 8th gen Intel Core i7. So far, specs are really good. The keyboard and trackpad would be integrated into the desk, which seems rather cool, and the surface of the desk also works as a scanner, so you can just lay any document or image that you have right on the surface and scan them instantaneously with just a click, and they will be right on your computer. The surface of the table is also has a wireless charger which can be used for any smartphone which supports wireless charging, such as iPhone 10, Galaxy S9, etc. And this comes in at $3,999, so it is a pretty hefty price to ask for, and it's a very niche kind of product. So I'm not sure how many people are going to be buying this product and if it's actually going to sell well, but more updates on that in the future. And that kind of brings an end to all the tech news for the previous week. So stay tuned for next week's episode of the podcast, and if you did enjoy it, you can hit me up on Anchor, send me a few messages, send me a few likes, etc. Subscribe to my podcast, check out all my other social medias. On Snapchat I'm AKAJK, on YouTube I'm AKAJK, and on all other social medias I should be AKAJKYT. I do hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. You can let me know by hitting me up on Anchor via voice message or something like that. and I hope to see you in the next episode of the podcast. Goodbye.